We'll move to E2, and Mr. Figueroa.
Well, I don't know how much time or thought you guys have put into the legislative platform over the last 2 weeks, but my encouragement to you is to continue to think through the different issues that we need to put on legislative platform, specifically as our previous one was kind of broken into 3 areas: 1 regarding funding, 2 regarding governing the schools, and 3 regarding the school improvements. And see if you guys have come up with any other thoughts as to what you'd like to see included in that. I'd like to start with the funding of schools. Does anyone come up with any thoughts that you guys would like to see included in the funding and what we tell our legislators about funding our schools? Any thoughts?
Well, Rico, one idea that's surfaced a few times over the years has been why are we not taking some of the lotto money and putting it into the school funding pot? If you can get anywhere with any of those 3 areas, you would be elevated to godlike status in the school arena here. So. There's the brass ring to shoot for you, I suppose.
So you want us to put in the legislative platform that you'd like them to start a lotto ticket to fund our schools?
No, that I would like some of the lotto proceeds diverted from making Colorado even more beautiful and adding and embellishing the existing parks and so forth, and put some of that money into education so the kids that are coming out of our schools actually understand and appreciate what those parks do.
Okay.
That's somewhat facetious, but that's you get my
No, any discussion, that's good.
But that they can spell park, how's that?
Okay, anybody else? Any other thoughts on funding the schools? What would be the 1 or 2 things that you say if you could have a state legislator in front of you? Do this. This is what we need. What would it be?
Stop fighting down there, start getting something actually done.
Thank you.
That would help.
Back every 2 years like Texas.
I left my stuff at home. I was in a hurry to get here after I got my son up after a doctor's appointment. I had stuff written down, but it's at home, so I'll have to wait till the next time to chip in.
Okay.
Oh, Rico, I'd like to bring up funding kindergarten. I think we need to start early with kids, and that's where we're going to get them. So when we get up to the 3rd grade and they're starting to be assessed, that they're already at a level that they're not 2 years behind and 1 year behind.
Kindergarten or preschool?
Preschool and kindergarten, so these are good. I think that gives, and also I'd like to tell the legislators that don't give us an unfunded mandate, tell us to do it, and try to find out where we're going to get the money. They need to find the money because they're the one that would set a bill. What bill was that? Where 3rd grade, multiple back to kids in 3rd grade. I can't remember the number.
I don't know the numbers, the READ Act, which we're currently looking at ways to implement, and they're still in the rulemaking process, but that's the one that talks about retaining kids or elevating that discussion if a kid's not reading at a proficient level in 3rd grade. Yeah, there's a lot of cost to that.
It puts a lot on our teachers. I mean, say, hey, here you go. Make sure this kid's ready to go to 4th grade. But he came to us without any skills. And no fault to the kid. But if we can get it in younger, and that way these teachers are not so far behind in trying to work with these kids. Because I tell you, an elementary classroom is not easy when you got 25, 30 kids in there and you're trying to work out of a couple. I think I would love to see the Capitol get something out there to say, hey, you really want us to do this? And put up the money so we can do our job.
So what if they said, okay, every school district has to offer full pre-K kindergarten or preschool? Would you be for that?
No. I don't want to.
Okay.
Because then it's just going to, what else program can we cut
Sure.
so we can implement this one?
So funded preschool,
Funded.
but I would add, leave it up to the individual school districts to decide whether that's appropriate or not.
Yeah, funded with some of the lotto money.
There we go.
I mean, you know, I would like to say, kind of sticking to the local control idea that, yeah, we love funding for preschool, but don't make it mandatory. That's my 2 cents. So that if the school district doesn't feel they can do it or should do it, I mean, do we want to make?
I think every school should do that. Man, it's our kids. That's the reason we're here, is because of those kids. And as soon as we get them, you know, right in preschool.
So you'd be for them mandating but funding preschool program.
But you see where he's kind of going with this, Mark, because we've been very strong about local control. So
Right.
when you get these mandates that come down from above, wherever, you know, wherever Bob lives, I guess they come from Fort Collins. But at any rate, that cuts at the local control. Is that where I'm hearing you go with some of this?
Yeah, just trying to find that balance. I mean,
Yeah.
on the other hand, you get a fully funded mandate from the state, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Parents are that.
Yeah, unless they, well, anyway. But Rico, I think the statistics, and I think Dr. Gordon will back me up on this. I think the putting effort into P and K are huge for what happens after that. You know, we've previous boards, actually even before I got on this board, I was listening to previous boards talk about the reading gap and how important it is for reading to happen at an earliest age possible, and what that does for a springboard for the later grades, or the ability to read in English, and what that does. You know, all of these things are big deals for a legislative platform, any of which I think would have immense return for us.
I think, you know, if you say you don't have to do it, but we'll fund it, I think people should do it. It's like, why wouldn't we? If we want to have our kids prepared for a global economy or marketplace, we need to get them right up front and start early in this space. And it helps all our teachers all the way up through high school, because these kids are coming prepared. They're ready to learn. They're not held back a couple of years.
Chris?
It's just ironic because we had a similar conversation with a group of us this afternoon looking at some of our school facilities and needs of kids. And we'd love to have full day K everywhere in our district. Right now, as a practical matter, it exists in most of our schools in the southern part of the district and is funded through Title I federal dollars. And then we have those opportunities for many kids in the northernmost part of the district on a tuition basis where families have resources to do it. The big gap place in our system right now is in the middle, in places where someone may not qualify for title status like a Leroy Drive, even though 65% of the kids qualify for free and reduced lunch there. They don't get title money, but there's not enough parents with the $300 or $400 a month to support a full day kindergarten program. So we'd all love for that to move forward. The one part I would just reemphasize is that to the extent your platform addresses it, it's important to address not only the operational cost of having a teacher, books, materials, those things, but also facility space. This was something that in Governor Ritter's administration, there was an aspiration to have full-day kindergarten everywhere, and part of what that bill required is that every district go out and cost out what it would cost to deliver full-day K. And most of the costs aren't so much on the operational side of teachers, but for many of us districts that are fairly tight on classroom space, we'd have to add some space to make that happen, and that's big dollars. We have some of that information that I think Rob Weber may still have some of that work that we did a few
We
years
did a big
back.
study about 4 or 5 years ago to identify what we would have to do from a facility standpoint to be able to accommodate it. I'm sure we still have all that data.
We can share that with you. Bottom line is, platform, if you go that way, it's critical that it address the facility component too. Otherwise, at least in Annapolis 12, given our current depleted bond and capital reserve resources, we wouldn't be able, even if we had funding for teachers, books, tech, we wouldn't be able to provide full day K throughout the system.
You know, Enrico, that reminds me when Chris mentioned Governor Ritter, Joni and I actually approached Governor Ritter in person and asked what it would take, or is it possible to move some of these lottery funds over to education. And in the immortal words of Governor Bill, he said that's impossible. And what he was referring to is this is actually going to take a constitutional amendment to do that. And he was kind of cutting to the chase and saying that's not going to happen for whatever reason. So, you know, where we start with this in turn, I think the legislature could really take the lead on this one and make some of this happen. There's got to be an accountability component in this. I'm not advocating just opening up the money flow and having no accountability for where this is going. I think that's been pretty clear, and a pretty clear mandate from citizens, at least at this stage, about accountability in government over the years. Okay, so anyway, where that all goes and how that happens, it'd be great if somebody like Creole or somebody would take the lead on something like this.